Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Ryan with another edition of Clutch Sports Talk. Thanks for coming on in today. Welcome to you for everyone that's listening or following me on YouTube right now. Before I get started, I got a jam-packed show for you today. We're going to talk about the Clippers, what happened to them blowing that 3-1 lead, and then obviously, the future and the state of what they're going to do possibly with Doc Rivers and the rest of that roster. We're also going to jump in a little bit about the first week of the NFL, so a recap of the week 1 of the NFL. Talk about some winners and losers and things of that nature, and moving forward, who has to do a better job next week in order to get that win. But before I jump into all that, again, thank you so much for subscribing and listening to me. And if you're watching me right now and you haven't hit that subscribe button on YouTube, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. It'll set you up for all the notifications. That way you know when Clutch Sports Talk is on the air and with a new edition in store for you guys. You can also follow me on Spotify. You can look me up under Clutch Sports Talk. Hit me up on my Instagram at clutch.sports.talk. You can also leave me comments. I post a lot of videos and content on there for you guys to enjoy. Some of it funny, some of it serious. It's all sports related. So, hey, that's all I got to say. But I appreciate you guys. So let's get into it. For those of you who follow the NBA or who don't, but you probably know by now, given what's going on with the social media, the Los Angeles Clippers went to Game 7 with the Denver Nuggets, and they ended up losing in a rout, almost by 20 points. The Clippers were up 3-1, and it was pretty much a done deal that they were going to win the series and they were going to meet the Los Angeles Lakers in the Western Conference Finals. That wasn't the case. Denver is the first team to successfully come back from 2 series down 3-1 and win Game 7 to win this series and move on. Clippers have a lot of thinking to do and restructuring about, in regards to what happened. From this beginning of the season, there was a lot of talk of chemistry issues, things of that nature, with Kawhi, doing his sitting out for a few games, what you're calling it, like taking rest, needed breaks for him. A bunch of things, Doc Rivers, injuries, all that, plagued the Clippers. But still, nonetheless, they were still able to be the number 2 seed in the Western Conference playoffs. But they ended up falling to the Denver Nuggets by almost by 20 points. And I guess for a lot of fans, too, one, you blew a 3-1 lead. And this isn't the first time that the Clippers have done it under Doc Rivers' regime. This is the second time he's actually blown a 3-1 lead. A few years ago, they did the same thing to Houston. And I believe a few years ago, he did that as well. It was a 3-2 series lead, and he could not win Game 7. He is 0-8 in Game 7s. It's a lot. That's very a lot. So, first things first, I'll talk about him. So Doc Rivers has been with the Clippers for about, I think, 6 or 7 years, if I'm not mistaken. They haven't won a Western Conference final. I believe they may have won the Pacific Division once or a few times, probably while the Lakers were down. And also too, they were in the same conference or division with the Golden State Warriors. So, but like I said, no Western Conference finals, no championships, obviously. Is he a good coach? I don't know. I mean, I feel like a lot of people are still, hyping him up because of that Boston Celtics team that he was able to take to the finals, who beat my Los Angeles Lakers. But since then, I would say that he's not terrible, but he's had a lot of good pieces, during his coaching tenure, at least between the Boston Celtics and the Los Angeles Clippers. He had a Ray Allen, Kevin Garnett, Rondo, Paul Pierce, et cetera, et cetera. Goes to LA, inherits Chris Paul, Blake Griffin, DeAndre Jordan. And those were some good Clipper teams as well. And then now, obviously, you have a really good team with Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, and some other supporting cast members. But nonetheless, he just cannot get it done when they need to get it done. And last night was a very, it's alarming if you're a Clipper fan, because you're like, well, what can you do? I've been on social media. I've seen a lot of people say, oh, they need to trade this person and trade that. Trades are not that easy to come by, especially with the money, because who are you going to trade? The Clippers sent a lot over to Oklahoma City in that trade to get Paul George. A lot of draft picks, Danilo Gallinari, I forgot the other player name. It slips my mind. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who was like a combo guard, who was a really pivotal player for the OKC Thunder this year, and Gallinari too. But they probably could have used those guys, because last night the shooting was atrocious. I think between Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, they combined for 24 points, where Jamal Adams scored 40 points on his own. Like I was telling some people on social media too, I feel like the matchup, even though the Clippers were able to successfully go up 3-1, A lot of it was just basically Kawhi Leonard went to work and Paul George had solid games. But matchup wise, I felt like the Clippers. I mean, don't get me wrong. I was wrong about Denver Nuggets. I thought they would have lost already. I thought they were going to lose to Utah in the first round, but they didn't. I think I said that. I don't know. I have to go back and check my other podcast. But anyway, they're still here and they're going to be playing the Lakers. But I felt like the matchup wasn't that great for the Clippers. And it kind of showed because, Jokic really had no one to stop him. The Clippers don't really have a paint perimeter, a paint defender. Ivica Zubac, he's basically their biggest man. Other than that, they play a lot of small ball with Montrezl Harrell playing at the 5. And honestly, Montrezl Harrell cannot stay with Jokic. He just can't. Now, as far as the guard play is concerned, I'm not sure why Jamal Murray, I'm thinking about football, why Jamal Murray went off on them when you have arguably, two of the top best defenders in the NBA in Paul George and Kawhi Leonard. I don't know. I don't know. Part of that's coaching. I have no idea. But those matchups, but mainly the pivotal matchup was in the paint. And, Jokic just went to work. That's how they were able to win the 3 games in a row in order to win this series. So Doc Rivers, I don't know, man. The rumor coming out of out of LA is that he will remain the head coach. But if you're the owner, Steve Ballmer, he is a very good owner. He's better than what the Clippers have had. I grew up in LA. I was a Clipper fan at one point. And during, those times, Donald Sterling was the owner there. For those who don't know who Donald Sterling is, he's one of the cheapest owners ever, not in just basketball history or NBA, in sports history ever. And also he was booted due to some derogatory comments he had made, and the NBA kicked him out. But anyway, so if I'm Steve Ballmer, who invested money, invested time, he bought the property in Inglewood where the Great Western Forum was at, or is. They're going to demolish it. They're going to build a new arena for the Clippers there. He's trying to win now, but right now Doc Rivers isn't getting done. Doc Rivers did step down. He was the GM for a while. This year he was just the coach. But I don't know. Does Steve Ballmer want to stay with him? But who does he go get? I mean, you got, there's some retreads out there. Jason Kidd, Tyronn Lue. There's guys out there, but who knows? Does Steve Ballmer feel that those guys are better than Doc Rivers at this point? I don't know. At least Tyronn Lue does have a championship ring, but who knows? But as far as player personnel is concerned, you can't trade Kawhi. He's your centerpiece there. Paul George, maybe you can try to move him. I don't know who would really want to take him, because of his contract. So let's just remove them from the scenario. So you're going to have to keep those two. Who do you put around them? Do you go out and get another big man, like another legit big man? It's hard because given in this NBA, it's a lot of small ball being played, and you need guys that can shoot. Zubac is not a really good outside scorer, but he's a big man. He's a traditional big man post up guy. He's in the paint. But there's Patrick Beverly. I feel he's good, but I wouldn't say he's good. He's a solid player, but I feel like his antics are just he's a nuisance more often than not, and then he becomes a liability on offense because he can't score. His defense is great. His perimeter defense is solid. But it didn't show up in this playoff because I want to say Adam so bad, but Jamal Murray just went off. So there's a lot of thinking that they got to get done and what they're going to do with some of these players, because obviously they can't come back into the season next season and with the same roster and think they're gonna win a championship. Like, it's good enough to be a contender or a team that's in the running for a championship, but I don't feel like it's gonna be enough for them to actually, hoist the O'Brien Trophy at the end of the year. So the Clippers, man, I don't know what they're going to do moving forward. So you Clipper fans, I don't know, man, reach out to me on clutch.sports.talk on Instagram. Let me know what your thoughts are, or here in the comment section and on the YouTube page. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But yeah, that's done. So moving forward, so now we're down to the Final Four. You got, the Lakers and Denver Nuggets in the Western Conference Final, and then you also have the Miami Heat and the who's Miami playing? The Boston Celtics, excuse me. Miami Heat took game 1 already on a last-second block shot. So they're up 1-0 now. The Lakers and Denver, I believe, will play next week Tuesday, I think, or Thursday, maybe. I don't know. I have to check the schedule or not. Pull up on your phone, see when the next game is. But here's the thing I'm going to break down the Miami-Boston series. So Miami's hot. Miami is hot, and they play really good defense. Jimmy Butler's a beast. Bam Adebayo, he's playing really good. Tyler Hero, solid. This is going to be a good series. I think this series will go 6 or 7. You saw how tightly contested game 1 was. Boston is not going to go down without a fight. They're going to get right back in this game. And, don't be surprised if they win game 2, because Boston does play good defense. They have good coaching. They have solid, great players in Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart. They got a bunch of guys out there that can ball. And, they're maybe not as flashy or maybe as exciting as the Miami Heat are because it's Boston, but they're definitely a really strong team. And I feel like the edge, I don't know, man. I mean, Jimmy Butler's been playing out of his mind right now. And if I have to pick right now, just going with the hot hand, I'm just going to go with the Miami Heat. I mean, I think they might, and I might be wrong. And next week, I might be on here saying, oh, the, Boston Celtics. But right now, I think, Miami is hot. They beat the number 1 seeded team in the Bucks, which, whatever. But Boston's a good team, but I think I'm going to go with the Miami Heat. Let me guys know what you think on that. To the other series, the Lakers and Denver Nuggets. So here's another team, Denver Nuggets, who's hot. They're coming off a back-to-back Game 7 to win a series. The Lakers have been basically just not steamrolling or strolling through the playoffs, but they've only lost 2 games in the playoff, and both being game 1s of both of the series, and they went on to win the 3-4 games consecutively to clinch those series. Matchups, again, I always tell people in the NBA, man, it's all about matchups. And I feel like the Lakers, and I'm not saying it because I'm a Laker fan, I feel like the Lakers do present a problem with for the Denver Nuggets in regards to Jokic. Because LA has a few guys they can run at him, that are defensive players, between Dwight Howard and Anthony Davis. Those are, those guys were all NBA defensive players for several years, and AD was in the running for, defensive player of the year this year. So I think they can, I'm not going to say they're going to stop Jokic, because Jokic is a very outstanding offensive player, but they can slow him down. And I feel like the Denver Nuggets don't really have an answer for AD really in the paint. Because in the last series, the big guys for the Lakers had to sit out. They couldn't really play as much because the Rockets were playing small ball. But in this series, expect to see a lot of JaVale McGee, a lot of Dwight Howard, and obviously AD, even LeBron coming down there. And as far as like the guards, Denver Nuggets probably will have an advantage, but if playoff Rondo continues to play at a high level he's at now, maybe he can slow down Jamal Murray and maybe, score a few points here and there. But other than that, I feel like the Lakers do have the size advantage, and they can just throw more people at these guys, and on top of that, it's grueling to be playing in, game 7 after game 7. These are long series where the Lakers are going to be fresh, ready to go. LeBron is focused. 8 more wins and they got an NBA championship. I'm not going to say it's going to be easy. I don't think they're going to go 5. I think this series goes 6, Lakers in 6. If it goes 7, I mean, hey, anything could happen in a game 7, but I'm going to take Lakers in 6 for this one. But it's going to be it's going to be exciting series because Jamal Murray is coming out. And one thing I will say, the Nuggets are a young team, and traditionally young teams struggle in the playoffs. And I think I said this a while back on one of my other shows where I felt like maybe they were too young. But after a few months of watching the bubble games, is really there's an atmosphere, but it's not like playing on the road in an opposing gym where those young guys really lock up. Right now, these guys they're playing with house money. There's no like crowd, nothing like that, no noise. They can just play free, and I think that's probably helped the Denver Nuggets play so well. Because if you looked right now in the bubble right now, even look at the Phoenix Suns. They didn't make the playoffs, but look, they won like 8 or 9 in a row. They haven't done that since, like, I don't know, Kevin Johnson was there, right? Maybe Steve Nash, those Steve Nash teams. But why? Because there's no arena. There's nothing for them to do but to play ball. So Denver Nuggets, I think, and even, you look at Miami, that's another young team. Boston's another young team. So, and then the Lakers are the only team that's a veteran-laden team left in the playoff. And you look at who's left on their roster. LeBron probably still the best player in the world, and AD, who's at least probably a top 5, top 6 player. So I think, the Lakers are arguably the team to beat at this point. But you never know because Denver Nuggets have been, playing well. So we're just going to have to see. But like I said, Lakers in 6. Yeah, you heard that here. Lakers in 6. And, we'll, check back with you guys next week, Wednesday, when the next episode comes out and see where we're at if they're playing by then. But Anyway, so that's it for NBA. We're going to jump right into the recap of the NFL Week 1. A lot went down. Obviously, it started the Thursday before with the Chiefs beating the Texans. That was it was an exciting game just because it was back, but I think everybody was waiting for Sunday for everything to pop back off, and it popped off. There was a lot of great storylines that we were leading up. I kind of went over that on my last episode. Winners and losers. I think I got a few winners here that I want to talk about. I want to say winners, not maybe guys that actually won the game, but guys or players or teams that I thought that made an imprint, or they made a statement. Number one, the number one draft pick out of LSU, Joe Burrow, he lost the game, but I thought he played well. I thought his poise was tremendous. Now they ended up losing the game, but he did what he needed to do, and obviously I felt like they were going to get blown out, but they didn't. And he stood in the pocket. He made some decent throws. He didn't look like the moment was too big. So I felt like he played well enough, to possibly they could have won. He did make a great throw at the end of the game, but it was negated because AJ Green had pushed off on the cornerback, so therefore they lost the game because of that. But the throw was great. So Joe Burrow, kudos for him, man. Hopefully they play this Thursday against the Browns, I believe. So maybe they get a victory on that, but you will have to wait and see. Arizona Cardinals, they pulled off the upset on the road in San Francisco. San Francisco team that's riddled with injuries right now, especially at the wide receivers standpoint. Jimmy G really had no one to throw to. Mozart, scored a touchdown or two, but and George Kittle is walking around limping right now. He took a low hit by Budda Baker late in the first half, I believe it was. And also with the Arizona Cardinals, Kyler Murray looks legit, man. A lot of people question his size. But this dude can play, man. I mean, and he showed it. And he's not a runner, dude. He's not a runner that can throw. He's a thrower that can run. And there's a big difference when it comes to that. Because, I saw him pinpoint some balls in the game, especially to D-Hop, and I'll get to him here in a second. But, he had like a 30-yard, 40-yard touchdown run. That was amazing. The San Francisco 49ers, for those who follow football, they struggle with mobile quarterbacks. That's why they struggle with him. And they struggle with, my dude Russell Wilson up north in the Northwest, and and they kind of struggled in the Super Bowl. So they do struggle with mobile quarterbacks. I will say that. But D-Hop, man, I think 14 receptions, 1 touchdown, I believe, over 100 yards in his first game as an Arizona Cardinal. I bet you the Houston Texans are missing that productivity right about now. He had a great game. I wouldn't say I called the game, but I would say that they still have a ways to go. The Cardinals do open up their homestand this week against Washington, who I'll get to here in a second too as well. But they have a chance to go 2-0. They have a really good chance to go in 2-0 for the first time in quite some time. But the Arizona Cardinals, good job this week. Josh Jacobs, the local guy out here from the Las Vegas Raiders, who practices right down the street from where I live, had 3 touchdowns. And I think he rushed for almost 100 yards, not quite, I think like 93 yards, and the Raiders won. Picked up an early win against the Carolina Panthers, and Josh Jacobs, is a beast. I mean, he, his yards after contact is tremendous. You're not bringing him down immediately. He is, a bulldozer, and he knows how to sniff the end zone. Like I said, he's up 3 touchdowns already as it is. So the Raiders on offense look pretty solid. Defense, they're gonna have to figure that out because they still gave up like 30 points to the Carolina Panthers. So, and they almost could have lost that game too. But they ended up winning it. But their defense is going to have – they got some guys. They got some dudes on there. I will say that. I'm not going to hate on the Raiders, but they do got some dudes out there that can make some plays. So we'll just have to see. But so good job on the Raiders week 1 getting that win. What else we got? Redskins. The Redskins defensive line. 8 sacks registered against the Philadelphia Eagles, And it's tremendous. Chase Young looked like a beast. He had a sack and a half. And, the rest of the guys went to work. I mean, like I've told people, the Washington football team, did I say the Redskins earlier? I'm sorry, not the Redskins, but the Washington football team, they got a defensive line, man. I mean, they've been drafting defensive linemen for at least 7-8 years, right? Almost. From Ryan Kerrigan to Chase Young now, Montez Sweat down there. They got dude, man. I mean, they got dudes. So they should be able to pass rush anybody in this league. It's a matter of, can their offense score? I think their defense is going to be good just because they pass rush so well. And their corners are helped out because of that. So 8 sacks this week against Philly. Good job for the Redskins. Russell Wilson, I got to throw him in there. Balled out 4 touchdowns against the Falcons, made it look easy. I mean, I think he was like 32 for 35. So in the NFL, that's crazy. 32 for 35. And I'm not talking about he's dinking and dunking. He is throwing the ball down the field, stretching it to DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, even Greg Olsen got in the mix. So kudos to Russell Wilson. Aaron Rodgers, man, that bad man again, double discount check or discount double check, whatever it is. I mean, why didn't the Packers draft a quarterback? I guess so. He came out with a vengeance, and I called it too. For those of you who follow me on Instagram, I did my pregame, and I called it. I said that the Green Bay Packers would go into Minnesota and they would beat the Vikings, and Aaron Rodgers would ball out. Why? Because he's that dude, man. He's that dude. He's like a Kevin Durant as far as social media. He lurks and he sees, he reads everything, and he went on there. He's like, you know what? They drafted a quarterback. It is what it is. I'm still Aaron Rodgers. I'm still slinging it back here, and that's exactly what he did. And finally, the last big winner that I thought was Big Ben, coming off the elbow injury. I mean, I think him and Juju Smith-Schuster hooked up like 3 times. Steelers overall, I mean, they just look really, really good. I get it. It was the Giants, and I think they held Saquon Barkley to like 6 yards. 6 yards, Saquon Barkley. But Jason Garrett's the offensive coordinator there, so maybe that's probably why. I know a little bit about Jason Garrett, as you can see in the back there. But so Big Ben, Pittsburgh Steelers, shout out to them. Losers of the week, Detroit Lions, man. And my boy Pete, he's from Detroit. These dudes, they blew a 23-6 lead in the 4th quarter. And they almost did something similar to that last year against the Arizona Cardinals. They ended up drawing that game, but still, that was a win in the basket, and they lost it. And they did it again to Mitch Trubisky, dude. 23-6. They made Mitch Trubisky, I can't even say dude, Mitch Trubisky. They made him look like, I don't even know, man, like the second coming of Tom Brady back there. I mean, the dude was slinging it everywhere, and they blew a 23-6 lead. Like Detroit Lions, what are you doing, man? You got to get Matt Patricia out of there. This team got some talent. They do have talent. Don't get me wrong on offense. Defensively, this guy's a defensive guy. They suck. They suck on defense. I mean, flat out, they suck on defense. And it's sad because I feel bad for Matthew Stafford because he's been there so long. He's not a bad quarterback. When given really good opportunities, he can do something, but they just can't get it done there. So, Lions losers this week. Browns, nothing to say. Baker Mayfield is not the guy, and he will be out of a job. If not this year, for sure next year. Browns just need to run the ball. OBJ, that's not working. They need to go and trade him. That's the rumor on the street that he will be traded, or they're looking for a trade partner. He's got to go. Maybe they get him out there. Maybe they could do something. I feel like Baker is trying to force stuff to him too much, and he's kind of not playing within the grand scheme of the strategy there. But they need to run the ball. You got Nick Chubb. You got Kareem Hunt. You got to run the ball, man. But the Browns, they got shellacked. I know Baltimore Ravens is probably one of the best teams, if not the best team in the NFL right now. Total, I mean, defense and offensively, they got shellacked, 38-6. So that just kind of lets you know what happened with the Browns there. Chargers, they won the game, but I don't know, man. Tyrod Taylor, to me, he's not the dude. I think they just need to put Justin Herbert in the game and let him play. If I'm a Chargers fan, I don't want to see Tyrod Taylor play next week. I really don't. You've seen it. He's like a game manager type player. He's not explosive. He's not dynamic. You barely beat the Bengals with a rookie quarterback, 16-3. So for you Charger fans, I know you got the dub, but I would be concerned because when you start playing really good teams and you need to make really dynamic plays, Tyrod Taylor is not the guy. I'm not saying he sucks. He's a really good backup, but he lost his job to Baker Mayfield. That should tell you what you need to know about Tyrod Taylor. 49ers, I don't know, man. I don't know if it's a Super Bowl hangover, but they just didn't look good on Sunday. I think the Cardinals thoroughly just outplayed them. Jimmy G again does not look good. And I think they try to baby him a little bit. If I'm the Niners, I got to try to make a play for OBJ if that's in the cards somewhere. If you can afford that, do what you got to do. But you need a wide receiver, and you get a guy like that. Hopefully he comes in and he's not a head case in the locker room. But, Kyle Shanahan is a very creative play caller. And, we'll just have to wait and see. But they got a lot of injuries, and I think a lot of people have high expectations for the San Francisco 49ers. But I know it's a lot of time left. This is only week 1, but injuries and stuff like that starting to pile up, that does take a toll on your team moving forward. So Dallas Cowboys, another losers. They lost the game, but they only scored 17 points. Now, from a Cowboys fan perspective, there were some questionable calls, especially in the fourth quarter with not going for the field goal to tie the game up 2020. The decision to go for it on 4th and 3. And prior to the 4th and 3, it was 3rd and 6, and I believe they had a handoff to Ezekiel Elliott. So things of that nature. They're still working out the kinks. Dak didn't play bad. He was serviceable. No turnovers. I think he threw for 300 yards or close to it. He spread the ball around, but 17 points is not going to do it in the NFL. It's just not. When teams are scoring 20 plus points, 24, 26, 27 points plus per game. The defense was bad. Couldn't stop the run from the jump. And if you can't stop the run, especially against the Rams, because again, I called it in the pregame before that game on my Instagram. I said the keys to the game was stopping the run, and they could not because the Los Angeles Rams predicate their offense off of play action, moving the line of scrimmage, moving the delivery points, things of that nature. And Cowboys defensive line just shit the bed. I mean, they got their dicks blown off. Excuse my language. They just did. And they could not. I mean, they let Malcolm Brown run for like 73 yards and like 3 touchdowns. And I'm not saying Michael Brown is a bum, but it's like, come on, you guys got to stop the run. So Cowboys, they got to do better next week. Tom Brady looked good in the beginning, but it slowly went downhill quickly right after that. They took the lead, I believe, first in the first quarter with a touchdown run by him. And after that, they just were out of sync. He threw 2 picks, 1 for a pick 6. Just was out of sync. And a lot of that could just be to new system, new team, new players, learning everybody. So I think he'll be better. I know Bruce Arians called him out today recently in the newspaper or after the game. So the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they took the L. They didn't look that great against the Saints. So we'll have to see what they do. The Jets, that's it. I ain't gonna say nothing about the Jets. They probably have the worst roster in the NFL right now today. Literally, they have no talent on the defensive or offensive side. Because why? Some of their players elected not to play, and they traded away some guys. And Sam Darnold, and I feel like I like Sam Darnold. He's a Trojan. You know, I'm from LA. It's hard to judge him. This is, I believe, his 3rd year in the league now. And it's hard to judge him because he hasn't really had any talent to play. Le'Veon Bell, they just need to get rid of that situation. I know he's going to go on the IR now. I believe he's hurt now with the leg injury, something. There's always something wrong with this dude. And even when he's playing, he's not the best. And it's crazy because a few years ago, he was arguably one of the best running backs. But it could have been just because of the system he played in Pittsburgh. But the Jets, I'm sorry, bro. They're trash, man. They're just trash. So they might win a game, but I don't expect them to win no more than 4 games, to be honest with you. So Jets, sorry, guys. Eagles, you guys got a problem. You can't protect Carson Wentz. And I know you went against that vaunted defensive line from the Washington football team. But if you can't keep Carson Wentz up and he gets hit, he's going to be at home in traction somewhere because you know this guy is made out of glass. So the Philadelphia Eagles, you guys blew another lead too. I think you guys were up like 14, 17 points. And I believe the Washington Redskins scored like 24 unanswered to win that game with Dwayne Haskins. So Eagles, I don't know, man. You guys going to have to figure that out too. So those are my winners and losers of the week. So, you know, we'll see what happens in week 2 coming up. Moving forward to week 2, I will say that there are 2 teams and a player that needs to they need to prove something this week. And I'm going to start with Tom Brady. Tom Brady has a lot to prove this week. I believe they're playing Carolina. So that should help him a little bit. But he's going to have to put in a little bit of extra work this week, work on some timing with the receivers, and make sure the offense is legit and ready to go. You know, their running game faltered a little bit, but why? Because the Saints had one of the top 4 rush defenses in all of the NFL, so that was tough. But those 2 picks, I mean, were big, and really the one that really solidified it was the pick 6. So Tom Brady did not look good in his first start as a Tampa Bay Buccaneer. So he's going to have to raise his level up next week to get that win. And lastly, the other team that needs to prove something in week 2 is my Dallas Cowboys, straight up. You got Atlanta Falcons coming in. You know, they're coming off a pretty good loss. The Cowboys coming off a heartbreak too. You know, I feel like that wasn't a PI. Michael Gallup caught that ball over Jalen Ramsey and he sold it a little bit, but that's debatable. We can debate on that on Instagram. Let me know. We can do that. Get on my live and we can chat if you disagree. But the Cowboys have a lot to prove, only putting up 17 points with all the talent. Now we do have some injuries there. Blake Jarwin's lost for the season, torn ACL. We got left tackles. We got tackles are down. Linebacking, two of our linebackers are out. LVE, Leighton Vander Esch, he's out for at least 6 to 8 weeks, broken collarbone. And Sean Lee, who's been out already, things like nature. So our defense, if anyone needs to step up too on the Cowboys, is the defense, that defensive line, especially in the run game. Like, I feel like they can pass rush, but we can't stop the run up the middle. We're soft. So, and that showed on Sunday night. So they're going to have to step up big time in order for the Cowboys to get that win against the Falcons, who are also a play action type team. So they will try to run the ball with Todd Gurley back there and pound you to get the play action going with Julio, because Julio's going to get his. He's going to get his. But because they do drop back with Matt Ryan a lot, the Cowboys will have opportunities to sack Matt Ryan. So we'll have to see. But I'm looking forward to week 2. I'm looking forward to the rest of the NBA games getting kicked off. Baseball is coming to an end as far as the playoffs are concerned, so we're watching that as well. Hockey, my Golden Knights went down, man. Here in Vegas, we support the hell out of that team, but they lost to the Dallas Stars, who are a good team for those who watch hockey. But other than that, man, sports is back. I know some of you probably not really watching it because of the whole politics, and I totally understand that. But I still got to watch sports, man. It's part of my life. I would be punishing myself if I didn't. So, but anyway, man, hey, that's my time. Before I get out of here, guys, I want to give a shout out to everybody out there watching and listening to me. I always appreciate your support, especially when this whole thing started, when COVID was real intense and everything's going to work. We're all kind of like getting back to our normal lives. But I appreciate you guys taking the time, listening to me in your car, on the way home, wherever you're at work, et cetera, watching me on YouTube, man. I appreciate it. I need your guys' support even more. I'm trying to bump those numbers up, man. But hey, again, catch me on Instagram at clutch.sports.talk. You can search me on Clutch Sports Talk for the YouTube. Hit that subscribe button, man, and let's go. But hey, guys, that's my time. Appreciate you guys. Until next time, never settle till the work's done. This is Clutch Sports Talk with Ryan Flowers. Let's go.